Cyril Ramaphosa, born November 17, 1952, is a South African businessman and politician serving as the fifth and current president of South Africa since 2018. A former anti-apartheid activist, trade union leader, and businessman, Ramaphosa is also the president, leader, of the African National Congress. Kindly do not forget to subscribe. Ramaphosa rose to national prominence as Secretary-General of South Africa's biggest and most powerful trade union, the National Union of Mine Workers. In 1991, he was elected ANC Secretary-General under President Nelson Mandela and became the ANC's chief negotiator during the negotiations that ended apartheid, a dark time in South Africa. Some observers believed that he was Mandela's preferred successor and best choice. However, Ramaphosa resigned from politics in 1996 and became well known as a businessman, including as an owner of McDonald's South Africa, chair of the board for MTN, and other businesses. He returned to politics in December 2012 at the ANC's 53rd National Conference and served as the Deputy President of South Africa under President Jacob Zuma from 2014 to 2018. At the ANC's 54th National Conference on December 18, 2017, he was elected president of the ANC. 2 months later, the day after Zuma resigned on February 14, 2018, the National Assembly elected Ramaphosa as president of South Africa. He began his first full term as president in May 2019. Ramaphosa's net worth was estimated at over $450 million, as of 2018. Early life. Ramaphosa was born in Soweto, Johannesburg, on November 17, 1952. He attended Chwilaji Primary School and Sekano High School in Soweto in 1971. He subsequently registered to study law at the University of the North in 1972. While at university, Ramaphosa became involved in student politics and joined the South African Students' Organization, SASO, and the Black People's Convention, BPC. This resulted in him being detained in solitary confinement for 11 months in 1974 under Section 6 of the Terrorism Act, for organizing pro-Frelimo rallies. In 1976 he was detained again, following the unrest in Soweto, and held for 6 months at John Vorster Square under the Terrorism Act. After his release, he became a law clerk for a Johannesburg firm of attorneys and continued with his legal studies through correspondence with the University of South Africa, UNISA. Anti-apartheid and labor activism. Kindly subscribe to our channel. After completing his legal qualifications and obtaining his degree, Ramaphosa joined the Council of Unions of South Africa, CUSA, as an advisor in the legal department. In August 1982, CUSA resolved to form the National Union of Mine Workers, NUMBER, and in December Ramaphosa became its first secretary. In March 1986, he was part of COSATU's delegation which met the African National Congress in Lusaka, Zambia. Ramaphosa has claimed that he is a committed socialist. Rise in the ANC, 1990 to 1996. After the ANC was unbent in early 1990, Ramaphosa became increasingly close with the organization. In January 1990, he accompanied released ANC political prisoners to the ANC headquarters in Lusaka, Zambia, and, later, that year, he served as chairman of the National Reception Committee, which coordinated arrangements for Nelson Mandela's release from prison, including concomitant celebratory rallies. Ramaphosa was elected Secretary-General of the ANC at the party's 48th National Conference in Durban in July 1991, and subsequently became head of the ANC's delegation to the negotiations that ended apartheid. He was also a visiting professor of law at Stanford University in October 1991. Following the first fully democratic elections in 1994, he became a Member of Parliament, MP, and was elected the chairperson of its Constitutional Assembly on May 24, 1994, a central role in Mandela's government of national unity. He was also re-elected, unopposed, as ANC Secretary-General at the party's 49th National Conference in December 1994. However, in 1996, he resigned from ANC office and from Parliament and announced his retreat from politics, reportedly because he was disappointed that Thabo Mbeki had been anointed Mandela's successor. Oh, what a cry! Business career, 1996 to 2014. After he resigned from politics, Ramaphosa became a businessman, taking advantage of the conducive environment provided by the new Black Economic Empowerment policy. Among other positions, he was executive chairman of the Shanduka Group, a company he founded, which invested in mineral resources, energy, real estate, banking, insurance, and telecoms, CCOM. By 2014, Shanduka was worth more than $1.4 billion, and the Ramaphosa family's Chwives Trust was its majority shareholder. Ramaphosa was also a chairman of Bidvest, MTN, and from March 2007, Mondi, a leading international paper and packaging group. His other non-executive directorships included Max Thiel Holdings, Alexander Forbes, SAB Miller, Linmin, Anglo-American, and Standard Bank. In 2011, Ramaphosa paid for a 20-year master franchise agreement to run 145 McDonald's restaurants in South Africa. He also belonged to the Coca-Cola Company International Advisory Board and the Unilever Africa Advisory Council. Ramaphosa's various shareholdings made him one of South Africa's richest men. According to the Sunday Times, his estimated net worth of R2.22 billion made him the 13th richest person in South Africa in 2011, and that figure jumped to R3.1 billion in 2012. Both estimates, moreover, excluded his unlisted investments through Shanduka, including the McDonald's franchise agreement and a coal mining partnership with Glencore. Cattle farming. During a visit to Uganda in 2004, Ramaphosa became interested in the Ankole breed of cattle. Because of inadequate disease control measures in Uganda, the South African government denied him permission to import any of the breed. Instead, Ramaphosa purchased 43 cows from Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni and shipped them to Kenya, where they were artificially inseminated. The embryos were then removed and shipped to South Africa, to be transferred to quarantined cows. As of August 2017, Ramaphosa had 100 Ankole breeding cows at his Entabanyoni farm in Mpumalanga. That year, he co-wrote a book about the breed, Cattle of the Ages, Stories, and Portraits of the Ankole Cattle of Southern Africa. Oh, what sweet of a president to love his cows more than his people. Public service. His resignation from politics notwithstanding, Ramaphosa occasionally accepted positions in the public eye, both abroad and in South Africa. He became the first vice chairman of the Commonwealth Business Council, and, in 1998, the chairman of South Africa's B Commission. In the 2007 to 2008 Kenyan crisis, which followed the disputed re-election of President Mwai Kibaki in December 2007, Ramaphosa was unanimously chosen by Kofi Annan's mediation team to be the chief mediator in charge of long-term talks. However, Kibaki's government protested Ramaphosa's involvement, saying that he had business links with Kibaki's opponent Odinga. According to Ramaphosa, Odinga had visited him in 2007, but he did not have any special interest that would lead him to favor one side or the other. However, he said that he could not be an effective mediator without the trust and confidence of all parties and that he did not wish to become an obstacle to the negotiations. He therefore withdrew from the talks on February 4. ANC Deputy Presidency, 2012 to 2017. Ramaphosa made his return to political leadership in 2012, ahead of the ANC's 53rd National Conference, when he received nominations to become ANC Deputy President. On May 20, 2012, Derek Hanekom, an ANC MP, publicly encouraged Ramaphosa to run for the ANC presidency, saying, "We need leaders of Comrade Cyril's caliber. I know Cyril is very good at business, but I really wish he would put all his money in a trust and step up for a higher and more senior position. Indeed, Ramaphosa did not confirm his intention to accept the deputy presidential nomination until December 16, the day before the conference began. However, he received strong backing from incumbent President Jacob Zuma, a partnership viewed as a strategic attempt by Zuma to outsmart and punish Kgalema Motlanthe, who was challenging Zuma for the presidency but whose constituency was similar to Ramaphosa's, given their shared union backgrounds and polished reputations. Ramaphosa elected ANC deputy president in a resounding victory on December 18. He received 3,018 votes, while Matthews Fosa received 470 votes and Tokyo Sexwale received 463 votes. Deputy Presidency of South Africa, 2014 to 2018. After his re-election in the 2014 elections, President Zuma appointed Ramaphosa the Deputy President of South Africa on May 25, 2014. Ramaphosa was sworn into office by Chief Justice Mogoeng the following day. After his election as ANC Deputy President, Ramaphosa had begun the process of resigning from various business positions, and in 2014 he concluded the process, as required by the Executive Ethics Code. This entailed his exit from Shanduka, from McDonald's South Africa, from platinum producer Linmin, and from all other companies which might give rise to a conflict of interest, particularly in industries regulated by the government. Other interests, including a share trading company, his livestock farms, his property interests, and a sports car company, were placed in a blind trust. Parliament's 2014 Register of Members' Interests reflected over $5 million in company shares held by Ramaphosa, although that figure excluded shares held together with private individuals, as well as his ownership of 30 townhouses in Johannesburg and 2 apartments in Cape Town. Domestic role. In July 2014, Ramaphosa called for unity in the country after Julius Malema argued that the Afrikaans portion of the national anthem should be scrapped. Ramaphosa said, "We are about building a nation and we must extend a hand of friendship, a hand of continued reconciliation to those who feel that the national anthem does not represent them any longer, and it can happen on both sides." Late in Zuma's term, Ramaphosa also began to address publicly the widespread allegations of corruption in Zuma's administration. Following President Jacob Zuma's resignation in February 2018, Ramaphosa was elected unopposed as President of South Africa by the National Assembly on February 15, 2018. Ramaphosa took his oath of office in the Presidential Guest House, Tunnhuis, by Chief Justice Mogoeng. Markets rallied strongly the day after Ramaphosa assumed the presidency, with stocks rising and the rand reaching its firmest since early 2015. Government bonds also increased in strength. On February 16, 2018, Ramaphosa gave his first State of the Nation address as the President of South Africa, the first time in a democratic South Africa where the President delivered his State of the Nation address without a deputy president. Ramaphosa emphasized the need to grow the economy of South Africa, increase tourism and youth employment, as well as reduce the size of the cabinet. In this speech, Ramaphosa also focused on the importance of keeping Mandela's legacy alive. Ramaphosa's speech was met with mostly positive reviews from opposition parties saying that his speech was positive and that it would bring about change, but that they would hold him accountable. At the 2020 summit, Ramaphosa expressed support for the African Continental Free Trade Area and described it as a major driver for reigniting industrialization and paving the way for Africa's integration into the global market. Ramaphosa also stated that the free trade agreement will make Africa a player of considerable weight and scale in the global market as well. Under his leadership, the African National Congress has pushed for a constitutional amendment allowing the government to confiscate farms owned by white South Africans. He has said that the state having the power to seize property for no compensation will encourage economic growth. South Africa made world headlines because of attacks against foreign nationals within the borders of the country, with many South Africans blaming foreign nationals for the country's socio-economic issues, Julius Malema came to defense of foreign nationals, saying the problem of joblessness lay not in foreigners but deeper. On February 11, 2022, Ramaphosa announces that his government will formalize the South African cannabis industry, seeking to grow both production and exports. Ramaphosa hosted the 11th BRICS Summit for 25 to 27 July 2018, at the Sandton Convention Center in Johannesburg. On May 10, 2021, Ramaphosa said that the ANC condemned in the strongest possible terms the potential evictions of Palestinian families from their homes in Israeli-occupied East Jerusalem and the brutal attacks on Palestinian protesters at Al-Aqsa. Following the Russian invasion of Ukraine, launched on February 24, 2022, Ramaphosa did not condemn Russia or agree to any sanctions against Russia. A month later, he stated that maintaining neutrality was essential to his having been asked to mediate between the two countries' leadership. Ramaphosa blamed NATO's proximity to Russian borders for the war. The war could have been avoided if NATO had heeded the warnings from amongst its own leaders and officials over the years that its eastward expansion would lead to greater, not less, instability in the region. On May 11, 2023, the United States ambassador to South Africa alleged the country was supplying weapons and ammunition to Russia. Days later, Ramaphosa announced his Russian and Ukrainian counterparts have agreed that a delegation of African heads of state could visit Moscow and Kiev to present a peace plan. Whether that will succeed or not is going to depend on the discussions that will be held, he said. In July 2023, Ramaphosa attended the 2023 Russia-Africa Summit in St. Petersburg and met with Russian President Putin. Ramaphosa called for peace in Ukraine and expressed concern about the global food crisis and rising fertilizer prices. Ramaphosa called for a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war, stating, "As South Africans we can relate to what is happening to Palestinians." He condemned Israel's blockade of the Gaza Strip and the collective punishment of Palestinians in Gaza. Ramaphosa described Israel as an oppressive regime. Ramaphosa has been internationally praised for his response to the COVID-19 pandemic in South Africa, with the BBC commenting that, in this regard, Ramaphosa has emerged as a formidable leader, composed, compassionate, but seized by the urgency of the moment. Alleged extramarital affairs. In August 2017, the Sunday Independent published an article alleging that Ramaphosa had had several extramarital affairs, including with some women to whom he had given money. Ramaphosa denied the allegations, claiming that they were politically motivated, aimed to derail his presidential campaign. Fala robbery. On February 9, 2020, it is alleged about $4 million in cash was stolen from Ramaphosa's Fala game farm in Limpopo, although the exact amount was disputed. Ramaphosa later said the amount was $580,000. In 2022, he was accused of corruption, obstruction of justice, kidnapping and bribing the burglars into silence. Personal life. Ramaphosa was married from 1978 to 1989 to Hope Ramaphosa, with whom he has a son, and from 1991 to 1993 to the now deceased businesswoman Nomazizi. In 1996, he married Tshepo Mosep, a medical doctor and the sister of South African mining billionaire Patrice Mosep. He is thought to have 5 children. He owns a luxury mansion at the foot of Lion's Head in Cape Town, as well as 30 other properties. In 2018, Investing.com estimated his net worth at $450 million. Kindly subscribe to our channel.